So let's get right to it. Remember, this is a fun show, right?
Absolutely. Mika.
Yeah. Except our new brand is nothing about this is fun, right? At least that's what we were saying the other day. Nothing about this is fun, but we're muddling through as best we can. The federal judge overseeing the Alien Enemies Act case says he has found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in contempt of court. In a new filing yesterday, Judge James Boasberg said the White House actions demonstrate a willful disregard of the court's order. He added, the court does not reach such conclusion lightly or hastily. Indeed, it has given defendants ample opportunity to rectify or explain their actions. None of their responses have been satisfactory. Last month, at an emergency hearing, Judge Boasberg ordered the Department of Justice to turn around planes heading to El Salvador with hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members on board, no one getting the process that they should have had to be put on a flight such as this or leave the country, thrown out. The flights did not return to the U.S. as ordered. The Justice Department stonewalled Boasberg from learning additional details about the timing of the flights. Judge Boasberg says he will give the government a chance to remedy the situation, but if it doesn't, he'll proceed to identify the people in contempt and refer the matter for prosecution. I'm going to go to Claire. You can take it to Lisa, the two legal minds at the table here. I guess, first of all, what has always been a little bit troubling to me in the coverage of the Abrego Garcia story is that that is a horrific story, and it absolutely, I guess on a political level, might actually move the meter a little bit. It gives a name, a face, a family to this incredible story of our laws being pushed to the limit or maybe even broken. And at the same time, all these other deportations, Claire, in a way, calling Abrego Garcia a mistake is sort of giving subversive validation to these other deportees. All of their cases are legally questionable as well. And they continue. These flights continue. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that what this administration is doing, it is deciding that it's okay to be lawless. You know, keep in mind, there are ways to deport people in this country legally. And they have all kinds of ways they can, in fact, make these deportations go more quickly. But the things they're doing now, many of them are really running afoul of the majority of what America thinks. I don't think the majority of America thinks that you should revoke all the student visas of foreign students without any kind of rhyme or reason other than that they may have a different opinion than you do. I don't think, frankly, they think that someone who's lived in this country and has children and is married and has never broken the law should be deported, especially if they've been here for a decade or longer. That's not what America thinks. In fact, polling backs me up on this.
Yeah.
So if they really want to deport folks, then all they've got to do is use the law to do it.
Deport folks.
Yeah. And I don't think, most Americans think criminals that are here illegally should be deported. Focus on that and quit doing this lawless stuff that, frankly, they're going to lose a big chunk, especially of independent voters.
And let me just jump in. If you guys could pull up the Hillary Clinton, she posted, I believe, on Blue Sky or Instagram yesterday. I'm going to read that. Go back to you, and you can take it to Lisa. You'll have a way better question than me because you guys are deep into this, an understanding of the law. But Trump TV will tell you that, oh, the lefties on MSNBC, the Democrats, they don't want gang members to be thrown out of this country. Listen to them. That is not what we're saying. Just FYI, everybody wants criminals and gang members to be put into jail or put in a situation where they can't hurt people again. We're all with you there. You can't say that because you're lying when you do. What we are saying is that people deserve the process that is due to them, whether they are illegal immigrants or American citizens. And none of these people received any of that. And many of these people are being defamed by Trump TV, defamed by the president, defamed by Pam Bondi, defamed and being labeled things that they may not be. And in the case of Abrego Garcia, they're taking a baseball hat, and saying he's a terrorist. because he's wearing a baseball hat. Who's crazy? Okay, so back to the Hillary Clinton post, Claire. She put this up. I don't know if it was yesterday, but it came my way. Before the election, I warned that there's no safe haven under authoritarianism. If they can ship Kilmar Abrego Garcia to a foreign prison accused of no crime with no trial, they can do it to anyone. Americans of conscience must stand against this now. And, you know, the hope is, Claire, that there is a groundswell of support for our country, in this country, for our Constitution.
Absolutely. And speaking of the Constitution, this fire hose of legal cases that I'm sure you've got some giant spreadsheet in your head, Lisa, but there are so many cases that are careening towards the ultimate showdown in the Supreme Court. How quickly will this Boasberg decision get to the Supreme Court, if at all?
I think there's a possibility that not this particular decision, but something stemming from it, Claire, is going to end up at the Supreme Court. Ultimately, right now, all we have is a decision saying that he's found probable cause that there is not just contempt, Mika, but criminal contempt. And I want to play out what that means. There are lots of different forms of judicial contempt, as Claire knows. Usually what happens in a case is you start from civil contempt, which is a fine, and then it might escalate if the disobedience continues. Here, Boasberg has found that there's probable cause already to find that there's criminal contempt, and he's given the government two choices. And the choices are, by April 23rd, a week from yesterday, you do one of two things. You either purge the contempt, or you identify the people who are responsible for having made the decision not to turn the first two of the three planes that left on March 15th around. Now, Mr. Abrego Garcia is on the third of those planes. Somewhere north of 100 alleged members of Tren de Aragua are on the first two. But I want to underscore for our viewers how easy it would be to purge the contempt and what it means to cure it. Because it's not that he's telling them, release all of these people from an El Salvadoran prison. All he's saying to them is, he says this directly, I'm going to read from the order. Per the terms of the TRO, meaning his own temporary restraining order, the government would not need to release any of those individuals, nor would it need to transport them back to the homeland, meaning the United States. All they have to do is retake custody of these people, put them back in U.S. hands, assure that their rights are being respected, as opposed to placing them in a notorious Salvadoran prison that looks more like a concentration camp than it does anything resembling an American prison that I've been to see clients in, for example, Clara, you might have visited in your capacity as a law enforcement officer at some point in time. That is really startling, I think, because I don't think people appreciate that's all the government needs to do here to resolve this issue that could lead to a showdown with the court. The other thing I want to underscore is that if we get to a point where the government says, OK, we're going to identify people, and Mika, you mentioned that he could appoint a prosecutor. There are going to be people on the right who say this is further proof that he is just lawless. He meaning Judge Boasberg. And there is ample precedent for doing so. The federal rules of criminal procedure require that in a situation of criminal contempt, first you refer to the Department of Justice. And if the Department of Justice says, no, we don't think a crime was committed here, the judge has every right to choose a lawyer of his or her own choosing to basically stand in the shoes of the government and prosecute a criminal contempt. And it's happened before. It's happened here in New York. There's a sort of infamous environmental lawyer named Stephen Donziger who served a term in prison for exactly this, for criminal contempt, where there was a civil litigation. He was referred by a judge here in the Southern District. That case went up to the Supreme Court after his conviction was affirmed by an appeals court. And guess what? The Supreme Court did nothing to rescue him from that. So in the event that we get to a place where there is a finding of criminal contempt, because there was a prosecutor appointed, make no mistake, we've seen that movie before. It won't be something wholly novel to this country.